you probably know someone who is exceptionally intelligent. Maybe they have a prestigious degree, a highly respected career, and a salary that most people would consider a dream. Yet, behind closed doors, they are quietly stressed about credit card debt, auto loans, and living paycheck to paycheck. This is not an anomaly. It is one of the most common yet least discussed paradoxes in personal finance. Being mathematically smart or academically gifted does not automatically make you good with money. In fact, high intelligence can sometimes act as a financial liability. Today, we are going to look at the psychology of money. We will break down exactly why high-income earners often trap themselves in a cycle of broke habits, and how the invisible forces of human behavior dictate our net worth far more than the numbers on our paychecks. If you look at broad financial data, you will notice a distinct disconnect between income and actual wealth. There is a massive demographic of people who earn well over six figures but have a net worth approaching zero. Logically, this makes no sense. If wealth building is just a math equation of income minus expenses, the person with the higher income should always win. But wealth creation is surprisingly disconnected from raw intellect or earning power. We often assume that if someone is smart enough to navigate complex career ladders, write complex code, or perform medical procedures, they are naturally equipped to manage a portfolio. But intelligence and financial discipline rely on entirely different parts of the brain. One requires cognitive processing and logic, the other requires emotional regulation and behavioral control. But here's the part most people don't realize. Highly intelligent people are uniquely vulnerable to very specific financial traps precisely because they are smart. To understand why this happens, we have to look at how we adapt to our environments. The core mechanism behind high-income poverty is an accelerated version of lifestyle inflation. When most people hear the term lifestyle inflation, they picture greed, someone suddenly buying yachts or designer clothes because they got a raise. But true lifestyle inflation is rarely that dramatic. It is subtle, psychological adaptation. Think of it like architectural engineering. When you build a structure, you have two choices. When you get more materials, you can reinforce the foundation to make the building indestructible against storms, or you can add a heavy, ornate roof. Highly intelligent, high-income earners often build heavier roofs without reinforcing the foundation. When your income jumps, your psychological baseline for what feels normal shifts. A $30 dinner was once a luxury. Now it is just a standard Tuesday night. A reliable used car feels inadequate because your peers are driving luxury sedans. The adaptation happens silently. You don't feel like you're spending extravagantly. You just feel like you're existing at your new baseline. But the real danger isn't just the spending itself. It is the story we tell ourselves about the spending. This leads us to the behavioral trap that drains more wealth than almost anything else. Smart people are exceptional at rationalization. When an average person makes a bad financial decision, they usually know it's a bad decision. But when a highly intelligent person makes a poor financial choice, they use their formidable intellect to construct a perfectly logical defense for why it was actually a necessary investment. They don't buy an expensive car to show off. They buy it for the advanced safety features and superior engineering. They don't rent a luxury apartment to look successful. They do it because the proximity to the office saves commuting time, which increases productivity. They use logic to justify emotional desires. This is the ultimate barrier to delayed gratification. Delayed gratification requires acknowledging that you want something right now, but choosing to wait for a better long-term outcome. If you convince yourself that buying the item today is logically sound, the friction disappears. You get the instant gratification, but you classify it in your mind as a smart decision. This internal rationalization is heavily amplified by social comparisons. And to understand exactly how much this psychological blind spot costs, we need to look at the numbers. Let's map out how this behavioral gap looks in reality by comparing two different financial trajectories. Consider an investor named David. David earns $72,000 a year. He understands his psychological triggers, so he engineers his life to keep his baseline expenses firmly capped at $48,000. This leaves him with $24,000. After taxes and a small buffer, he consistently invests $14,000 a year. Now consider Sarah. Sarah is a highly specialized professional earning $135,000 a year. But Sarah operates in an environment with high social expectations. Her colleagues drive premium cars, take expensive vacations, and live in premium zip codes. Sarah's baseline adapts. She rationalizes these upgrades as the cost of being in her professional class. Her living expenses creep up to $105,000. Despite earning almost double what David makes, Sarah only has the cash flow to invest $8,000 a year. On paper, Sarah's salary seems like an undeniable advantage, but the long-term results are completely inverted. If we project this over a 15-year timeline, assuming both achieve a measured 6% annual return, the outcome is stark. Sarah's $8,000 annual investment grows to roughly $186,000. David's $14,000 annual investment over that same 15-year period at 6% grows to over $325,000. Despite earning nearly $1 million less in gross income over that 15-year window, David is significantly wealthier. And this doesn't even factor in the fact that Sarah's expensive lifestyle requires a massive emergency fund to sustain, meaning she carries far more financial stress than David. But the math gets even more interesting when we look at how people handle new money. Let's say Sarah gets an $18,000 post-tax bonus. Her immediate psychological response, fueled by exhaustion from her demanding job, is that she deserves a reward. She uses the entire bonus to upgrade her vehicle. It's instant gratification, rationalized as a necessary upgrade for reliability. If she had instead recognized that emotional trigger, delayed that gratification, and invested that single $18,000 bonus, leaving it alone for 12 years at a 7% return, that single decision would have turned into more than $40,000. Every time you instantly gratify an emotional urge with a financial purchase, you are not just spending the purchase price. You are permanently destroying the future wealth that money was capable of generating. This brings us to a real-life scenario that plays out every day in the modern workforce. Imagine you have just finished a grueling, high-stakes project at work. You are mentally depleted. As you scroll your phone on the way home, you see an advertisement for a premium vacation package, or a high-end watch, or a designer furniture set. Your brain immediately links the exhaustion of your hard work to the right to consume. The internal dialogue says, "I work too hard to not enjoy my money." This is where poor financial habits masquerade as self-care. It is a psychological loop where work creates stress, and money is used to buy temporary relief from that stress, which leaves you with less money, which forces you to work harder, generating more stress. Smart people stay broke because they use their income to build a heavily padded cage, rather than using their income to buy the key to unlock the door. They trade the ultimate long-term reward, freedom and autonomy over their time for short-term dopamine hits disguised as lifestyle upgrades. So, how do you fix a problem when your own intellect and environment are actively working against your financial goals? The solution is not to simply try harder or promise yourself you will spend less. Willpower is a finite resource, and if you have a demanding career, your willpower is largely depleted by the time you get home. The practical lesson is that you must redesign your financial environment to bypass your own rationalizations. You do this through strict automation and by intentionally redefining your social metrics. Instead of waiting to see what is left at the end of the month to invest, which leaves the door open for rationalized spending, you automate the investment the exact day your paycheck clears. You navigate your finances by removing the steering wheel from your emotional brain entirely. If the money never lands in your checking account, your brain cannot logically justify spending it. Furthermore, you have to actively reject the traditional markers of success. True wealth is not the cars in the driveway, the tailored suits, or the luxury apartments. Wealth is the money you do not see. It is the unbought vehicles, the unbooked first-class tickets, and the unspent bonuses sitting quietly in an index fund, buying back your future time. Being smart, capable, and highly compensated is a fantastic engine for wealth creation. But an engine without a navigation system will just drive you into a wall much faster. Building wealth requires accepting that managing money is more about managing your own mind than it is about managing a spreadsheet. It requires recognizing your capacity to rationalize bad habits, understanding the silent danger of lifestyle inflation, and choosing the quiet confidence of delayed gratification over the loud signaling of instant consumption. Wealth building is a slow, methodical process of behavioral consistency, not a reflection of your IQ or your job title. If you are ready to start building systems that protect your money from your own habits, I highly recommend watching our previous breakdown on financial decision frameworks. It will give you the exact mental models needed to start automating your wealth. Keep thinking long term, and I will see you in the next one.